your new Toyota Starlet Cross. Own it.
iDiskiTV powered by World Sports Betting. iDiski Times, the CEO.za. So Lindo Pep 1, Kaizer Chiefs 0 in the biggest fixture of South African football. Please subscribe to iDiskiTV as people are spending hours getting out of the FNB Stadium. It was over 90,000 people there, so it's very difficult. You can drive 1 kilometer for 30 minutes because there's a lot of jam-packed traffic. Namhlanje ke iqela leOrlando Pirates likwazi into bakhe linciphise umgama phakathi kwabo neqela eMamelodi Sundowns. Biyona into ke ibalulekileyo kakhulu leyo into abasondele kwiMamelodi Sundowns bakwazile ke nangona ke bixoxisa kakhulu umcimbi kareferee kodwa ke uba ngaba sinenhliziyo ezinhle singabantu sizayibona la moment into ba bekukhona umuntu obanjiweyo sham qha ibingathi nje ureferee bengaqinisekanga ngoba ingathi uyekile yadlalwa ngoku kuthena sithi ipenalty kwacha kwacima kodwa ke uba ngaba singabantu nje aba honest sawubona bakukhona umuntu obanjiweyo emqolo okanye emagxeni ingasoft singayidescribe soft kodwa ke ikhona into eyenzekileyo akho nothing. It was something that happened. So well done to Orlando Pirates. Not a good game in particular from both teams, but at least we have something to talk about as content creators. Lindo Pep, the floor is yours, sir.
Shakunjani Mr. Nkeho?
Yes, sir.
Mathi ngibulise football of the director of football, ngibulise chairman, ngibulise achamu just ngikule kwathi ngincenge ngiphule ngistrip. Congratulations to you Orlando Pirates. Of course no Jorge Rivero.
There's no fake hairline today.
Angikudanga ngithi manje ibaba yami ngishile so mele I must find another new baba, but anyway
you left him behind.
Angikwazi ukuhamba naye.
You broke up. Mawuthi ushilo ushukuthini like you broke up with him or
No,
or he left to another area. Oh yes, you've moved. Okay.
Yeah.
You're moving up in life.
Okay, Mr. Nkeho. To be honest, I think maybe we can start about the incident. There's two things. Firstly, maybe before I get into the incident, there's one thing I like that I've been advocating for this season. Ngicela ama winger are receiving a weaker foot. Give yourself an advantage as a winger. Excellent work, very good pass, but an excellent first touch that gives Urile Mfukeng an advantage into that space. But there's in that decision, Kolego. For me, initially, because the first picture you don't see the ref, I was questioning whether he was giving an advantage. But when I see the second video, it does show that he gave it immediately. Right? It is a straight penalty. In my opinion, you look at that incident. Urile is in high speed, Kolego, approaching the last line of Kaizer Chiefs, and he gets a pull. That pull was soft. But because the fact that it didn't fall, that tells you that it wasn't a strong pull. But for me,
it doesn't have to fall.
Yes, it doesn't have to fall. But for me, the reason why it's a penalty is because the reason why receiver on left is because he wants to open his border passing on right lap.
Sure, top corner.
There was going to be a goal. Trust me, because he was going to pass it there. That was the idea. So for him to pull him, destabilize, that's why the last touch goes to Ubavuma. But even that is a foul. From Wavuma.
I think the one gap Vuma is more questionable because there's a question about how far is the ball, was he gonna get to it? But the one we should simplify it is that he is touched on his shoulders, and that is sufficient. The confusion was whether or not he allowed the play to go on. But if we are being honest human beings and we are fair as human beings, there is a touch there, there's no robbery. We can, of course, we are content creators, we're gonna ask spicy questions, but if we are fair, there is a touch there. Whether you wanted Pirates to win or lose or draw, there is a touch there, unfortunately or fortunately.
For me, it's a penalty because Mfukeng was in high speed and he was going to pass it for me. It's not an advantage thing or anything else, but very important. For me, I have to speak about Tito Maswanganyi. What did we just watch? What did we just... It's a sign of proper development. It's a sign of good technique. Because when you're properly developed, you understand things like a psychological profile, you understand things like dealing with playing every moment, playing every action. Tito, for today, in my opinion, played every action, every minute. From the first half, is the one that was dictating the game, supporting the ball from deep. Because these two, Umakaola, no Mbata, for me, in my opinion, in the first half, they didn't play well. Actually, Orlando Pirates, for them to get a result in this game, they will look back. If Orlando Pirates were to do anything this season, they will look back into this game and say, this is where we started everything. Because for me, they didn't deserve to win this game. So many players didn't play well. But when you speak to people that have played the derby, I'm not throwing good ring. That's why I kept constantly asked Tito no tuna because it's very important. It's a very difficult game to play because we saw player Maninga Vela in terms of poor performance, bad first touch. Because you look at those two in the first half, I don't know how many balls did Umbata lose, but off the ball he was exceptional. Good recoveries, interceptions. Makaula, in my opinion, I was very critical of him in the first half because for me, I needed someone who support. Because there's a reason why. This is the idea, Nkuleo. The reason why Jorge Rivero introduced to Kabelo is because he thought in his mind he needed a fourth midfielder because the duty that is done by Makaula is done by Tito. So now there's no one in the red zone. So now you're giving the responsibility in that number 10, Urile, Unkota. But now Mabasa must drop deep also in the Tito space as well. That's why we saw Mabasa out of the box. So for me, the reason why I introduced Udlamini, he thought Udlamini will do the Tito role. And then Tito a cause an effect in the last line. Because for me, when I was watching the game, in the start of the game, Kaizer Chiefs 11 men behind the ball. Uhoto no Tino Van Rooyen, that's the first identical thing I saw. They are very high. So that tells you that they are leaving 3. Already, under loads Tipo China comes into a 3. So that already says to me, you do not need control. You already have control from the 2 center backs who, in my opinion, play diagonal balls. Ipolal champion midfield. That means they are saying, even though Umbata is a good player in Makaula, they can't pass, they can't break lines, there's no vision, there's no imagination. They've got other things in their game that helps the Orlando Pirates to be on form, but the coach has accepted that Umakaula is not going to break any line. There's no vision in that game. The very same no Mbata. Because Umbata, the only difference is without the ball, he was exceptional. With the ball, he came imagination. Without that goal, that game was an ISO in my opinion. Because in terms of stretch football, we were all looking there. Because in terms of stretch football, because to be honest with you, you're looking at Tusipo Chaine, how many deep diagonal balls did he play? Usesane today, if you check the first opportunity of the game, it comes from Usesane. Why? Because he's got the responsibility of thinking like a 6. There's no one coming to support. He has to take a 3rd touch and a 4th touch. And now he's under pressure. Plays a ball. We are head Umakaula. It becomes Kaizer Chiefs, I mean to say.
Pulemodi got the opportunity, and you would fear as well that in that moment, because Chiefs want to contain, if they score, the match is over because Chiefs are happy to be defensive. Do you agree with that thought?
Yeah, I agree with that thought in my opinion because they were so defensive. I'm actually confusing like Mabasa Nole because Mabasa also got a similar chance where he was 1-on-1. So Pulemodi gets an opportunity in my opinion, tries to round the goalkeeper and doesn't get that opportunity.
He didn't take a shot, he didn't do anything.
For me, he had time. He didn't have to dribble the goalkeeper in my opinion, right? But you're looking at the tactical structure of the Orlando Pirates. That's the team that I'm more disappointed with. Because for me, they've got the best dangerous attack in the league. They've got the best attack in the league. They've got one of the best players in the league. Right, in terms of his decision making.
I think he's the best South African player. I don't want to debate no Ribeiro. I simplify it by saying he is the best South African player currently.
And about Tito namhlanje uyenza into zokubuka nkuleka.
Relebohile Mofokeng is the best South African player for his age and profile and the things that he do against any team except for today's game. He's the best South African player in my opinion, which is not to say that Tito is far away from that. He could be the 3rd or the 4th best after maybe a Sundowns player like Abozwane when they're on form, something like that.
Nkuleko, mina I have said Ngorile, he's probably one of the best, but I've seen so many coaching moments during the season and I've had that conversation with you. And one of the reasons why I need him to improve is because the responsibility really in the Orlando Pirates team is to allow Hoto to occupy that left-hand side. So his biggest responsibility is open spaces, whether for the striker or for the fullbacks. But today, ineffective in terms of decision-making, in terms of first touch. I don't know if in the big ground, because not normal trap will kupuga. Magatu drive an Apollo, he gives it to the opponent. So for me, not a good game from him. I understand why they really subbed Nkota. In my opinion, those goals that Tusalem used to score for Orlando Pirates are going to be crucial this season. Because Nkota, we're going to have to be honest about the boy Nkuleko. I think, and I don't want to judge him because I said, I spoke to Ama legend. It's a difficult game. But we have to say, already it gives us an indication where the career of the boy might go. He will have a good career. He will be a good professional player. But there is nothing absolutely special about him. There's no thinking, there's no imagination in his game. Can he improve? Can he be a player that can, that's what I want. I need him to surprise me. But in terms of pace, power, that's what he's got. Today, excellent job from Udi Tloko in terms of from a defensive perspective. You go to Uplom as well. Solid from Uplom. Solid, proper right back Uplom. And I had said here in studio, if he continues to do that, being given an opportunity to Kaizer Chiefs, he's closer to the national team in my opinion. Because anyway, he is a national team player, but not a center. Right back, let him compete Nabum Dao, let him compete Nabo Tino Van Rooyen. Because today, with what he's shown me, he's good on the ball. Good number 1v1, reads the game. Yes, that mistake you're going to pull is that touch, Ushawi first touch. That's why Chunyamaga explained sometimes that it dribbling. Sometimes the movement of the ball, it dribbling. You one touch, it dribbling. Dribbling, you one touch. So, but overall, good game. Mikel, if I'm checking, too many mistakes in this game, Mikel. They should have gone from Umloisana.
Before you go, sorry to cut your train of thought. You, as you mentioned Nkota, and as Orlando Pirates did not get Ozwen Apolis, isn't this the best possible time to sit down with Saleng? Yeah. Because football, in as much as football is a game of opinions and we discuss it, there are absolute facts about football. If someone scores 20 goals guaranteed per season, When you don't have them, it means you don't have 20 goals. It means when we calculate the league table, there will be someone who doesn't have 20 goals or 15 goals, which is what Saleng is. For all his inability to play, he scores. And when he's not there, 15 goals are not there. Isn't a game like this, because you didn't get a police, isn't this a case for a right wing forward? Like Saleng, sit down with him, thresh out the issues. Whatever issues he's had, it's because of something that has happened internally with the club. Talk to him now. I think it's time.
Nkulego, Saleng is, I always say this, it's not about being a fan or liking someone. It's about what a profession can do. For me, similar idea to Hoto, which I'm going to get into. Saleng is probably one of the most important players for Orlando Pirates, whether you like him or not. He scores goals. He's very influential and scores big goals, scores in a derby as well. For me, in that right wing position, if he was there on the pitch today, I think that they would have won by more than 3 goals. Because that's the only thing they needed. They needed someone who's a runner in behind. They didn't need an extra midfielder. They didn't need a half winger. Understand, Kulek? So for me, Saleng, whether you like him or not, he deserves to play for Orlando Pirates in this typical squad. Because you're looking at the approach, you're looking at Nama substitute corner for the first time, in my opinion. Roger Rivero got it wrong from reading a game. Because you make a wrong substitute, Ukipungkot. For me, they just needed to attack the last line. Because lack of movement, lack of flexibility, lack of creativity in that front line. Even now, really, now Mabasa was very stagnant. I don't know whether it's a coaching detail, because normally Lusale boxing, but today they were asking so much of him. We were even having a conversation to say, Lindo, they're asking more from him in terms of the pressure. Because if you am check Mabasa today was off. Unkota as well, in my opinion, the boy came him Cinda. I think bega riding. It came pressure he came. Yeah, stage fright. But you check my substitutions, I'm sure you're riding. You're looking at even my substitutions. The 2 fullbacks for me, they just needed to add players in the last line. In my opinion, it's just another excuse to play Umahopa.
Because they always just want to play Mahopa somehow.
Because Nkulego, just keep Umabasa in the box. Don't ask him to move out of the box. You didn't need to. You don't need 2 number 10s when Tito is dropping that deep. For me, in my opinion, Begmelaba keep Umbata, because in the first half he didn't have a good game. Because Umtomdala, from a recovery perspective to an intercession perspective, it does help them. But Umbata, remove him out, even though Azalang energy. They didn't need energy, Nkulego. They needed brains. They needed how to break that Kaizer Chiefs defense line. You understand, Nkulego? There were too many long balls, in my opinion. You cannot break a Kaizer Chiefs team just 1 ball from Musipo Chaine, Usesana, Nolentuza, Nkulego. But for me, another player I just genuinely want to praise, and it's a profession thing here. It's not about what you like. Dion Hoto. Ever consistent. Forever consistent. In my opinion, I don't want to say best, but the most consistent left back, no injury, gives you an 8 out of 10 every game. These are the players that we need in the Betway Premiership. Very good example for young kids, in my opinion. Never ever complains. Never ever complains. Can play left back, can play as a winger. Very consistent. For me, he's had a better career than so many players I like. I think people that know me and that have listened to me understand the kind of players I like. But it's not about me. That guy deserves the flowers that he's getting. And in my opinion, was the most important player. And him, for Orlando Pirates, Makaula, first, second half, you don't deserve the man of the match. Give it to Tito. Penenga. Tito Namsankolego. This is, you know what, to Tito Namsanja, I think it's going to be a shame if we don't talk about Tito. Because for me, Tito today showed what it means to be a South African football player playing a derby. When Utong question, will this boy play in your generation? And that for me is the answer I needed. He said, this boy can play. Utso dezika mamaka to shale a penalty when everyone stood up. Asimi again Lomfan, Asim again, Ankasim Kayeno Tito. Let's give him to do that in the last minute. Ipenenga, that technique, arrogance, confidence, and the celebration. I love the celebration of Orlando Pirates. It feels like a 6-pointer. For me, control the game from a perspective of dictating a game. It's a normal game, Lomfana. He plays, everyone was under pressure except him. Except him. I didn't expect, I'm going to be honest, Nkulego, I think as much as the country as well. I only expected 3 things from Kaizer Chiefs. I expected them to improve their counter press in terms of press, win the ball, maybe 1 pass back. I expected them to improve their attacking transition, right? I expected them to improve their defensive transition. That's it. But be solid. Not to win. And for me, that's where they were going to get the opportunities. They were going to get the opportunities on a counter, which is maybe I'm confused. It's a counter. It's not just to break it down. It's a counter. In a counter press, because they know that they shouldn't allow Orlando Pirates to build up. Because when the Orlando Pirates get into their half, they're going to be dangerous with Tito Naburil. Press them quick in their half, you understand, win the ball, and then you know you're 1 pass away from the goal. Uchiva Varo is better than Mahopa, even, in my opinion. He's better than Mahopa. No, Mamele, that's why I'm not saying wow, Uchiva. But I like, and in big games, that means it's a psychological thing. Someone needs to sit down with Uchiva Varo and talk to him. There's these little movements he makes in the box that I like, that not so many players have. He's got good technique. Uyalazi palilugu pal movie. Ushai target. The only thing is that I think they're going to have to sit him down because sometimes there's players who get too emotional. And when that every match is the psychological profile. And that's exactly what Kaizer Chiefs should be scouting for in Orlando Pirates. Not just a good player and a talented player, but a player that understands that they're going to have a match after 3 games and you must deliver. You must deliver. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Can you deliver each and every after 3 days? And that's what is expected from Uchivavaro. But for me today, those shots that he took and the way Triblenga corner body, for me, I was impressed. They need to get him more into this situation. Maybe another coaching details in this country. Can we stop coaching strikers to play outside the box? We need strikers that for 15 years as a boy, watching this league where strikers don't score goals. It's maybe because I didn't have a proper understanding of football. When I'm watching the strikers now, they move outside the box. The last pass is irreliable fullback. You start the game, Uhoto ule, Tino van Rooyen ule, Umbata no Makaula bati. Isn't irresponsibility last pass? Why is the last pass coming from the fullbacks? Yeah. That's modern football. That's not only Orlando Pirates. And also, it's the quality of the players as well. The coaches can only do so much, more especially at the highest level.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. But for me, an incredible win for Orlando Pirates. One that I think it is fair in this result.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Lindo. We're sweating because it's 31 degrees in Johannesburg, and also these lights are very powerful and strong. So that's why we're sweating. And of course, I'm fat, so I will always sweat. That's Orlando Pirates then winning Kaizer Chiefs. I don't know why you're sweating if I'm fat, and I have an excuse for why I'm sweating. I don't know why you're sweating because you're fat on the inside. Just like Justice Chabalala is also fat on the inside. There you are. Well done to Orlando Pirates. I'm big boned if I'm not fat. I'm a fattass. I'm a fattass. You have to be self-deprecating. You have to be able to poke fun of yourself. That's a sign of humor and intelligence. I'm a fat piece of shit. So anyways, well done to Orlando Pirates. They beat Kaizer Chiefs and they're closer to Orlando Pirates, to Mamelodi Sundowns rather. That means the title race is still on in this country. What will happen next week when both of those teams play against each other? We shall find out. iDiski TV, iDiski Times, World Sports Betting.